Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter, here with a nice shade. Now, as the ascendant is on Saturn, retrograde in Pisces, this is a good time to talk about satanic ritual abuse. And the midheaven just left the 22nd degree. So, I want to talk about a facet of satanic ritual abuse that we might not be so aware of, and perhaps we should be aware of. Perhaps it is a point of opening of our consciousness to something we didn't consider. And the more we are aware of this, the more we are attending to it, the more ways can show up to change for the topic and make change so that we don't see this thing happening so often. And as you know, I've been looking to political assassinations and skipping like domestic violence and all that 22 ooey gooey stuff. And I noticed, I'm not going to directly point it out because that would necessitate talking about details that are like not always public. As you know, I'm doing astrology, but I'm also channeling and receiving stuff. So yeah, using my knowledge ethically for the benefit of people. And so oftentimes we're not aware that literally all of our public personas are the grown adults of satanic ritual abuse, and a lot of what's happening in the world is not just wars and all of the child trafficking associated, but also this programming and this ritual abuse and ritual human sacrifice and psychic attacks. So I'll begin with a story. I was watching a testimonial, I might put it in the comments, through watching, of a survivor of satanic abuse, and one of the side notes that she said was they were doing the pedophilia as a cover-up. This is where my ears went, huh? But lo and behold, they were doing that so that when a survivor arises, they remember pedophilia, they don't remember the rest. And I'm like, oh. Because we are thinking about, incest survivors or pedophilia survivors, child abuse, child sexual abuse is kind of like the worst of the worst. Like, what is the else? What is that, a cover up to what? And yes, of course, fumbling with the sexual energy of people to get them under control is why these things are done. But the fact that the survivors will be is still in the cult, and they would be our singers, our artists, our public personas, our politicians, our inspirational figures. Okay, for when you listen to motivational talks, for the people that you look up to, that you both look up to, you look down to, and look eye to eye with. Okay, that's the agenda. Because if you can control everything of what you think, and I give you another reference right now. There is a channel of somebody who hacked into the North Korean satellite and just show what the TV is there. And he said, people told him, do it 24/7, you will get good revenues from ads. But they said they show so much weapon that I would get immediately blocked. And I challenge you to watch this, to watch what the TV is looking like. It reminded me not just of Soviet Russia, which I don't know, but some phases in my own country, Israel. Before we were delivered to the US hands, we were in Russia's hands. They were basically morning advertisement on Stalin when Stalin was dead, murdered, I don't know. And now when we talk about politics, then the job of politicians is to promote policies, okay, to promote solutions that fit with the agenda of those who extort them, okay? But what I noticed as astrologer is that they would take a person, let's say a person has risk of political assassination, okay? They would on purpose, it is not 100% sure for each and every case, but what they would extort the person to do, which is a part of the satanic abuse when they are old. And you know, politicians are 60s, 70s, some of them heading to their 80s. So think about since birth or very young childhood all the way up to be going through this constant attacks, hidden, and the things that are going on a hidden level we don't see, okay, unless you're targeted individual or SRA survivor yourself, and so on, or you got out of a cult and so on. And so what's being done is that, let's say this person, let's say a politician has a risk to be assassinated by car, you know, like we saw JFK, which was the most famous case, but even people like 50 Cent, which is rapper, or Peter de Vries, journalist, but was also politician. And so what would be done with is that perhaps this politician or this person would have to promote a policy that intervenes with somebody's freedom of movement, okay, freedom to go from place to place, okay, if to do with housing. So what would be remedial? First of all, let's say you're a domestic violence survivor and you got away, you got some money, but you want to still protect your chart. Let's say the ruler of your 4th house, or your moon, or even your Mars, because Mars is real estate. Oh, note to self, with my 22 Mars. And so let's say you got better and you want to make charity, which is a form of remediation. So donating for safety houses cause would be appropriate, okay? And they would take people that for whom that would be appropriate to donate safety housing, safety cars, okay, transportation, and they would make them promote policies that take people, evacuate people from their homes, keep them from getting a shelter, okay? Keep them, so not to promote just a donation or something like that, but to evacuate people from getting a shelter, okay? And there would always be a big complex around it where it seems reasonable, but is it good for the same politician chart? Very likely not. So there are a couple of things that happen here. First of all, our awareness that this is the continuation of satanic ritual abuse, because our politicians are extorted left and right, okay? Because our politicians are extorted and they're extorted, you have to put this solution to whatever. So let's say you have to, you know, they want to take over real estate, so you have to evacuate people from the home. So you have to promote solution in which it somehow seems reasonable to evacuate somebody from their home or to not give them shelter, okay? It would be a whole lot of mess, okay? Most of, let's say, the refugees in Europe are coming from countries where they put, you know, let's say Taliban, okay? They put Taliban and then people ran away, but with the people that ran away, they put people that will continue the Ayatollah thing in Europe, so that the public would say, oh, we don't want these refugees. It's not the genuine people. It's the people that are with those intelligences that are themselves extorted, okay? And then if would come the right-wing politician that would say, okay, let's deport them. It's done in all of Europe, okay? So a part of the satanic abuse is basically to do that to the politician, to do that to the public figure, to the decision maker, that they will have to make decisions that continue and perpetuate abuse in their lives. where you get people under constant threat of assassination. Constant threat is coming from ritual satanic abuse as well. And so a lot of what the threat, I haven't looked deep into the Trump case. There was definitely something going on with ears. All of my cats' ears have been like somebody, they had a fight and so on. Like definitely something going on with ears on that around that time. But the ears are also Mercury, which is also children. But definitely the rituals of assassination is also, if you think about Trump, you don't know, even if it's staged, you don't know if they're going to shoot you and assassinate you, or they're going to go and do it next to your head. Okay? And so you still, even though it is staged, you don't know what they're going to do. And the people that do it, they don't know what they're going to do. Okay? It's that's the way it's done with intelligence. And so they think, oh, this is just a drill, this is just a this is just a that. And they don't know if they're going to actually assassinate or not. When Yigal Amir shot Yitzhak Rabin in Israel back in 96 it was, 95, he said, this is srak, this is a drill, this is a drill. And maybe he believed this is a drill. But Rabin was shot 3 times in his back, and within hours he died. Unlike the Freeze, who died within 9 days. So, with a bullet in his head. Okay? The 50 cent. So what killed, right? And so a part of the satanic abuse is to perpetuate the practices and to get the person to do the things exactly which would constantly keep them in risk of assassination. This is one of the practices. Okay? So if we, the public, are aware, and we can create for thinking that targets the actual practice and dismantles it, rather than targeting people which are themselves survivors and still going through abuse, because what they want is for us to be targeting the people, okay? That, or the nations, but this is on another note. And then we can begin, when we understand what is going on, we can begin to create ways to open an opening where is constricted. Okay, so we have a pathway to freedom and the right to exit violence, and this is true also when, if you think, oh, this happens to a leader and I don't like their opinion, I don't know. This is happening when a person, man or woman, escaped domestic violence or violence. What the practices that would be given to you in therapy and by authorities are the practices to keep you unsafe. They are doing the 180, and it's not because they don't know. It's not because they don't know. It's done on purpose, so you will stay in constant trauma and constantly controlled. Because if you escaped violence, you know how violence works and you got out. Okay? This is what they don't want you to do. They will give you drugs, they would give you everything you want, just not the safety and the leverage to heal yourself. Both private therapy and regular therapy. Okay, you have to comprise, especially now with Chiron in Aries, you have to comprise the healing for yourself. But this is also understanding that when we tend to expendable children, right to exit violence, we cannot expect that the same people within the expendable children project, even to their 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, cannot, in the current situation, do something about this. Because what they had to do to not be murdered was to rape, to murder children, when young, when adult, to be extorted, to make sure others are extorted, to run these rings like Epstein, all these things. Okay, so what source of empathy do they even have in the eye of the public? But this happened when they were children. And if they didn't get murdered, and even for people, they don't let them commit suicide. To commit suicide is privilege. If you get, how do you get to? Okay? So they keep them in death traps, and now you expect that person to grant you freedom of movement, freedom of this, freedom of that. But, and that's what we need to get. That's what we need to get. That you turn into the person who's absolutely not in the position to help you right now with that, and you ask for them to be a savior. And this is the times we're going to, the time where Pluto is going to enter Aquarius, is the farthest from the sun. If leaders is Leo, is the sun, Pluto Aquarius is the farthest from the sun. And so it's important for us to take our power back, but it's also important for us to target the actual problem. For otherwise, what those who extort our leaders or politicians or artists want to begin with is that we will do them the dirty job of the intelligence of assassination, and then they will just put other heads instead. You kill this, 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 you kill this. But did you kill those who create this? No. And so what will happen is just like, I live in Israel, and every time we have with Hamas, or like they did with Taliban, we kill the head of this, we kill the head of this. Well, you know why they kill the head of this? Because when a person is in this situation, they begin to want peace, they begin to want negotiations, they begin to want solutions to get out of this situation. Just like in the world wars, there were games between the frontiers, the different frontiers. People played soccer, and then they began to shoot in the air. They had to replace the soldiers at the frontiers. That's why they kill their heads. That's why they're off with their heads. Now Pluto to Aquarius are like, everybody gonna say, off with their heads. We finished with the heads. Yes, so they will have new heads, and then you will have a second world war. When clock strikes 12, Pluto strikes end of Cancer, beginning of Leo. And so if we have, but what we have now that we didn't have then, is that Pluto trines Sedna. And Sedna is a once in a 12 millennia that she's there, and she's making contact with this Pluto in Aquarius. So Sedna is about those expandable children since the Inuit. And that is what we have the opportunity to. Doors are opening for us to abolish the practice of expandable children, more so accommodate for children, for childhood, and for healthy adults. Healthy childhood that breeds healthy adults, and healthy societies. When I mean healthy, not World Health Organization, but happy, joyous, living life. So pay attention when you watch TV, when you watch stories. Begin to pay attention for the signs of this satanic abuse, and what is actually happening. And begin to point it out. Begin to point it out. Begin to say, I see this. You will see there are a lot of survivors that are waiting for you to say that. A lot of survivors that will back you up. To say, thank you for marking that. And that way we begin to open the gate to change, to move the energy around, to change that. For all the people, whether it's we the common people escaping violence, or it's the expandable children, and we're no longer compliant, but it's not we're no longer compliant with our governments, because our government is just a bunch of expandable children grown, but with those who actually created these practices, would actually practice them in both indigenous societies, royal families, world families, Vatican, religious institutions, and the common people. So I hope this is kind of a bit of a beginning of a breakthrough. Again, the more you understand what is going on, the more you open, when you say, I see that this is happening. Say, speak up. I see that this is happening. I don't buy that show. I see that there is abuse here happening. Then with the people, it doesn't work on us anymore. You want to assassinate this leader, that leader, it's not working on us anymore. But the leader is not the problem. The system that does it, this practice, is the problem. I want enough with this practice. Because until we tend to expendable children, we don't have economy. It's based on child trafficking. We don't have science, academia. It's based on you believing that there is no such thing as spirit, so that you will not address satanic abuse, you will not be believed, or you believe that there is no such thing as matter, mind over matter, okay, Eastern practices. So you will not want to be housed, not want food, because it's not you that wants that. That's an ego death. You're not enlightened enough. That's why you want to drink. You don't even exist. Okay? But if it doesn't work on us, and we also don't aim the fire at the victims, which are the public figures right now, because they've been grown to that. The Boko Haram is not in Africa. It's also in Africa, but it's not in Africa. It is everywhere. It is leaders right east and west. You think leaders of North Korea, of China, of Russia are not expandable children grown? Royal families. So they make it between this leader or this religious revolution and that king, Shah, Ayatollahs, Iran, 79. So that you will want the Tsar, the king. But still they are expendable children. So still they are extorted to do the things that would enslave a society. Even if they themselves want out. Okay? So this is where our awareness creates an opening that allows for more strategies to come, that allows for more freedom to exist, and that allows for us to reconsider our daily lives and deprogram ourselves from many, many things. And it's not about extremism, but to get that, we go through a process of deprogramming. So to become, because when I was watching North Korean television, I'm like, it reminds me of some things in like old footages they show in Israel. That's a big deal. When I hear Americans that go out of America, they travel in Europe and they're like, oh my God, the children don't stand to the hymn of the country and bow to the flag each day at school. Then Europeans like, what, this country is North Korea? No, it's US. Okay, or women, or men and women that menstruate suddenly like, oh I don't have irregular menstruation anymore when I eat the food here, but the GMO stuff back home. Okay, for the US. Okay. Or Europeans watching a village in Uganda putting cow dung on where they cut the food because it's antiseptic. But our organic cow poo has worms in it. Okay? But all the toxins in the soil from the Industrial Revolution. Yes? Or Israeli people watching Twitter and all the Palestinians missing the olive oils in their lands are like, we never had land and olive oils. Like we don't have that. Maybe in the south where all the time they shoot at them, then yes, they work for agriculture. But for the common people, with the city people, they pay mortgage and they are afraid to be evacuated from their apartment. It's the common Israeli person. So what olive oils? What land? And they say, don't take our land. We don't have land. Okay? So what olive oils? And so this is a part of what is going on in the world. And when you identify that, when you begin to pay attention without the signification of, the symbolism of the cult, or the highly funded, okay, for like even WikiLeaks is funded by Rockefeller, okay. So it can expose for some things, but it cannot expose China, it cannot expose North Korea, and so you get people to think that North Korea is kind of a lovely place to be. So, okay, because people don't know much. You don't know, for the real estate, every 100 years they have a contract for when a country can use the land. So every 100 years we have a world war. And this is in the best of cases of the contracts. Okay, they change its real estate. And way more things. Every 100 years or so the centurions die. Yeah, like Kissinger and so on. But they need to replace them. But to replace a person like Kissinger, you have to do genocide. You have to participate in world mass murder, because that way you are trusted if you are betraying. Okay, the trust is reliant on betrayal. So this is a part of kind of like the Sedna stories, but the Sedna trines Pluto is also a potent time to transform something here, to transform our economy, transform our real estate, transform the relations with civil societies. When we say power to the people, not just be superficial about it, like Marie Antoinette said, cakes or not cakes, or no, but really get, in the French Revolution, the people who had land rebelled, but the people who didn't have land, they just died. So only the people who had land made the French Revolution. So was für eine revolution, they were not, and then there was US when there was slavery in US. But right now we have also Uranus on Algol, which is supportive of abolishing of slavery. Okay, so there's all of these things coming up that are potent for us to tap into and make changes, because on this practice of expandable children, our entire world runs on tortured children. Of course everything is fucked up, but we can change that. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.